My goal as a barber is to one day have consistent cape throws.
Cape throw. All right, show the camera what the cape throw is.
The cape throw, you know, one day.
Wow.
The cape throw.
Perfection.
Sometimes.
She's good. Let's see if I can clip this right here. Does that work? Be good.
Should be fine.
All right.
It won't get like ruined if hair falls on it or something, right?
Nah, it should be good. Be all good.
What are we doing with your hair?
It's really thick right now. If we can just thin it out and take maybe a little length off, nothing crazy. I do like the longer look, but it's getting out of control at this point.
It's not even or whatnot?
Yeah, and it's just messy and just need a little thinner, you know what I mean? Just thinned out.
At least
that's all good.
Thin it out.
Thin it out because it won't stay still the way it is now. But yeah.
And your layers.
Yes,
I feel like you need layers.
hey,
Or like right here. More than anything.
Hey, this is your thing. You tell me.
We shall see.
All right, Barber Britt B, right? That's what you call yourself?
That would be me.
That would be you. So tell us the story of your life. How'd you get where you are?
God, that's such a big story.
That's right. We're going straight depth. Where'd you come from?
I'm from Cartersville, Georgia.
Okay.
I have my mom and stepdad, and then my dad and my big brother.
Mm-hmm.
Lots of family, cousins, big family. We all were raised really close, and we lived really close. I am the third youngest of 14 cousins.
Wow. That's a lot of kids. A lot of cousins.
A lot of cousins. So I am one of what they call the babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through school and went to college. Started in poli-sci. Wanted to do hair. But college was more stable.
Mm-hmm.
Or thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had a baby my sophomore, junior year.
Mm-hmm.
And just me and the kiddo. And then I went to work in the corporate world. I did that for about 4, almost 5 years before I decided I was going to go to hair school.
Okay. And you went to hair school, but you said earlier on you knew you wanted to go down this path, but the school was a safer path. So what ultimately led you back to this?
Well, I always did everybody else's hair in general. And I still wanted to do it, but at the time I was going through a terrible marriage, not my son's biological dad, to a man that was an addict and not so nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was going through a terrible marriage and then a divorce when he got incarcerated for not being very nice. And it was a good time for me to clean house, change directions. And also that 9 to 5 as a single mom, which even married, I was always a single mom from the time I was 19 on. He was sick a lot when he was little, and there was school stuff, and my mom would have to fill in for me. I couldn't go to everything. I couldn't always stay home with him when he was sick. So I had a big village that had to help raise him with me because I had to work. And in this industry, there's a lot more freedom. I mean, there's a lot of work and a lot of hours. But as an independent contractor and a business owner, you still get to write the rules a little bit. So I wanted that so that I could control my time with my kid.
Wow. So you said you were 19 when you had your son?
When I got pregnant, I think I was 20 shortly after I found out I was pregnant. So I was 20 when I had him.
Okay. So talk a little bit about navigating through that, because I'm sure it definitely wasn't easy, especially raising child by yourself, essentially, and you said you had a community of people around you to help, but still.
I did. It wasn't easy, but at the same time, it's kind of the only, it's all I know. Like, I've never had, even when I was married for a few years, I've never had a co-parent or a partner to parent with. I was always mom from day one. So when people say, oh, that sounds so hard, the only thing I can relate it to is just parenting is hard. One parent, two parents, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And when it's all you know, you don't really have anything to compare it to.
Yeah.
So it's perspective, I guess.
So what are some of the things you learned, especially early on? Because I'm sure it required you to grow up a lot faster, right, and mature, and you're responsible for somebody. So what are some of the things you learned, especially initially?
I'd like to say I grew up and matured.
What?
I'd like to say I grew up and matured. Initially was that it's not all about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when you have a kid, like your first thought isn't, what am I going to do today? It's what does Josh need today?
Yeah.
Like it's always about them first. Granted, you get to think about yourself a little bit, but it comes super natural. It can be frustrating.
Yeah.
Sometimes to not be able to do both, like take care of his needs plus your own. But the thought was supernatural. Yeah. Like there was no question on whether I thought about myself or my kid first. It was always about him. Did I do everything right? No.
Of course not.
I was young and still growing and learning myself. I tell my kid all the time, unfortunately, he had the displeasure and or pleasure of getting to grow up with his mother. But he's like my favorite human on this planet. He is. He is such a good kid.
He's 16 now, right?
He will be 16 on October 13th. We have his 16th birthday party this coming Saturday. It's pretty big. We're doing it with his cousin. They're 4 weeks apart. He gets a pretty big surprise from his mommy.
So what's the responsibility feel like? Does it feel like a weight, or does it feel like something you get to do, or what do you feel about
privilege.
That? Yeah.
It is a very heavy privilege. So the weight is always there. Does it feel like a burden?
Yeah.
No. But nobody ever said that rewards weren't heavy too.
Yeah. That's true.
Just because it's heavy and it's a lot of weight to bear doesn't mean it isn't joyful. Like problems and obstacles and struggles aren't the only heavy things.
So what role do you feel like God's played in all of this and getting you to this point where you can still sustain yourself and your son and survive and thrive through it all?
The whole role. All of it. I went through a lot of things, a lot of dark moments in the last, in my life in general, but especially shortly before and since Josh entered this universe. Yeah. I know for a fact a lot of the times that I went through, most people would understand if I had questioned or animosity towards God, right? Yeah. I can say 100% that even though I didn't understand a lot of times, I never, ever, ever was mad or asked, why are you doing this to me? I kept trying to figure out because it's not like it's being done to you. Yeah. You're supposed to learn something from everything. And it's more frustration out of not being able to figure out what you're supposed to learn from a situation.
Yeah. Ooh, I understand that.
That's the hard part. Like, it's not that this is happening to you.
Yeah.
What did you ever do wrong or any of that stuff? This is the most effective way to teach you what you're going to need for the future.
That's it. I think everything's preparing us for that point, right?
Yes.
Man, and it.
And just being able to accept it for what it is. Preparation for I don't know, what if it's to prepare me for something my kid goes through in the future so that I can better be support for him.
Yeah.
Or maybe there was a perspective that I carried deep down that I was unaware was not right, and it's a way to open your eyes a different way.
Yeah,
or
that's it. It reminds me of a quote I heard where life can only be lived moving forwards, but can only be understood looking backwards. And you don't always know why you're going through the things you're going through or what lessons you need to learn until after the fact, and you look at the full picture and it's like, okay, I see why each of these individual things had to happen the way they did, because it prepared me to be who I am.
Correct.
To serve the people that I'm called to serve. And you know, big one you're called to serve is your son, right? So,
I believe so. Well, that's just called being a mama.
That's right. But I mean, that's part of it.
That's just being a mama.
That's right. But you're serving him, right? You're doing everything for him, right? You're keeping him the forefront of your mind and everything you do, like you said, and you're doing it for him. It's not about you. And there's a lot of sacrifice that comes with that, which may not always feel fair at the time. I'm sure I can only speak off of what I'm hearing, but I'm sure it can feel unfair to sacrifice some of the things you had to sacrifice, but at the same time, it's all worth it for the glory on the other side of that.
I used to earlier on have that this isn't fair. Like, I get it. It's not supposed to be fair, but this isn't fair. You know, and to me, when you stop asking that, it's not about fairness.
Yeah.
It's really not. It's more about like equity. Like, it's not about fairness in the sense that it's even, or you get like a yin and yang, like as equally good as it was bad. Like, it's not like you're owed anything. But when I say equity, like the takeaway, the value of the takeaway could be way more valuable than what you think you deserve.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, 100%. No, and
like in this career, it was hard at first because I wasn't making as much money. I still had a lot of learning to do, which is every career, but I enjoyed what I was doing. And what I learned was all the things that I went through with the opposite gender in multiple situations, if it came to having a child or a husband, or all the things that they all struggled with, addiction, jobs, all these things. I chose, like, I get to have conversations with people. I get to know them. I get to learn I get to be there for every important moment, right? But I chose to do that with men instead of doing women's hair. And you would think, given the things that I've been through, that would be the last group of people I would want to be. But I also feel like this is the one way I get to serve people with my bare hands. And so if I can do anything to help their own thought processes by sitting in my chair because they trust me, then I get to share the things that maybe they don't think about as men or young boys.
That's so good.
And I mean, there's two very valuable relationships to men outside of their family, and that's going to be your pastor, not bartender, your pastor and your barber. It's typically your barber and your bartender.
So God's given you this platform, and He gave it to you for a reason, right? So how do you feel He's using that currently and going to continue to use that moving forward?
I feel like I get to bring a different perspective to barbering and men's grooming in a more professional environment, but also as a boy mom and someone who's been through a lot of situations with men that, I don't know, they trust. I get to talk to them. I get to hear about their wives. I get to kind of counsel the younger ones on what they should and shouldn't be thinking.
Yeah.
In reference to situations they're going through. Because, I mean, I've been there. I've done it. Yeah,
for sure. Well, and there's answers everywhere, but what are the right ones, you know? And God's definitely made you a mouthpiece for a reason. And he didn't give you this in vain. I mean, there's a reason why other than cutting hair. Obviously, you do a great job with that, and it's there. You have that quality, like you're saying, that is different from other people. And I know I went to several different barbers before I finally found you, which, for context purposes, for people listening, I met Brittany through her mom, Teresa. Shout out, Teresa.
Hi, Mommy.
We worked together in the same real estate office. But anyway, I had gone around several different people and nobody could figure out my hair. And then I came to you once when you were over in Kennesaw, and I was like, okay, I'm sold, I'm in. And she's done a great job since. So I appreciate you. Appreciate you on that end. You're definitely.
I appreciate your business.
No, absolutely.
I also feel that, like, I always make this joke that when I cut hair, like, I love, like, my favorite, the biggest compliment I get is when the wife messages me on my platforms later and she's like, oh my God, I love what you do. And I'm like, I'm telling you, I do it for the wives. I swear I do. I'm making sure that you get to go home because you said not looking like that. And also when they're frustrated or they have an anniversary coming up or there's a birthday or there's anything, I get to just be like, did she really have an attitude or were you just frustrated? Like, you know what I mean? So I always joke, I do it for the wives. I swear.
Yeah. Your additional support.
That's right.
No,
I got you, girls.
We love it. No, good stuff. And definitely if you guys are in need of any of the services she provides, go check her out. She'll be tagged on all of this. You can go see on our Instagram. She got a link in the bio over there with her different services. And you have a pretty big range, right?
I do. This location here in Acworth, it's not where I live. I don't work where I live because it's kind of secluded. It's more central to my clientele. So I have people from all over, really. Some of them drive quite a ways. So I love them. I don't know that I would do it, but I love them.
What would you say your top services are? Obviously traditional cut and then beyond that.
So it's classic barbering and gentlemen's grooming and straight razors, clippers, fades and blades. I do, I specialize, I can do all cuts, but kind of my niche are skin fades and taper fades. I have quite a large kid clientele and teen clientele as well. I think they deserve to have nice haircuts that aren't, 1, 2, 3 fades just because barbers don't feel like dealing with it.
Been there.
I have a very large range of teen boys who finally will get their hair cut. So mom's happy. I spent a lot of time trying to learn their haircuts so that, they didn't feel like too much got taken off, but that their parents would be happy because they're groomed. And then I have quite a large special needs clientele.
That's cool.
Those kiddos, I have like an appointment just for them where it's the same as a regular kids cut price-wise, but it blocks off twice as much time. And I can customize like my whole suite noise-wise, sensory seeking or sensitive. That way,
that's awesome.
Their parents can relax and they don't have to worry. They can sit down and they don't have to worry about a whole shop of people staring at them because there's nothing to really be worried about anyways. But that way we can work on not traumatizing them through the experience. And getting them used to it. really.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Does make me happy.
That's awesome. Okay. Well, now I want to shift a little bit. I want to talk more about the faith, if you're all right with that. I want to hear a little more about what your walk is like currently and what your relationship is like with the Lord right now.
My walk currently. I love my Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I am certainly a believer. I've done a lot of independent study.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Linguistics, time periods, things like that. Accurate text. I grew up Southern Baptist. I somewhat transitioned to like a non-denominational point a little later in my earlier life, like my early 20s, later teens. And then going through single motherhood and learning what I've learned about the text. And the closer I got with Jesus, I found myself meeting him in non-traditional places, not that building. I love the worship portion. I feel like I was given an enhanced gift of discernment. Later in life, I should have had it earlier. So I tend to meet him everywhere versus going once a week to meet him in four walls.
No, that's it, right? I mean, he's a part of every step we take. That's why I tell people. We've talked a lot on my podcast about the presence of God and just everywhere you go, knowing he's there. He's omnipresent, and just keeping that
everywhere
in mind. He always wants to consult you through things and help you deal with it. And all we got to do is ask. And sometimes he doesn't answer right away, but wait on the Lord, and he'll meet you there for sure.
But so the ones that I always worried about, like him not answering right away, like. You know how sometimes when you want to talk to your friends, you're going through something, but you don't want, it's not to like get advice or suggestions. You just need to vent.
Yeah.
Like sometimes when you're praying or talking to God, like it's not for him to answer the prayer. It's just to talk it out with
That's
it.
I
feel like I do that a lot more than I act like. For myself, he's more of like, let's talk this out.
Yeah, for sure.
For my son, I probably pray a little more intentionally.
He's a counselor, right?
Very much so. But I mean, I meet him when I go for a motorcycle ride. That's one of my favorite ones. One of my favorite. When I'm on my bike and like, that's one of the best right there. But everywhere, really. Like, if you just include him everywhere, you'll find that you need a specific designated place for him less and less.
Yeah.
Like, he's just there.
He's always there. I would say for me, I'm kind of mixed. I guess I have both, where I have my quiet time alone with him, and he reveals a lot of things during that time when I'm intentional about shutting the door and, closing out the outside world and just focusing on him. He definitely meets me there and reveals things, gives me ideas and vision and whatever else. But then there's times when I could be out for a drive or going through the mountains or at the beach, whatever the case may be, and he's talking. He's talking more then than he does sometimes when I'm in the secret place. But he's always there and he's always talking. Just the question is, are we tuned in? Are we looking for it? Are we paying attention, right?
I think so many people are more concerned with the appearance.
Ooh, so true.
Like,
so true.
Don't get me wrong. People, there's this fine line between spiritual and religious.
Yeah.
And I really just find myself to be spiritually religious. Like, we're just going to hodgepodge them together.
Agreed.
But the appearance of going through the motions.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes when you focus so much on the location of worship that it's more like a pageant instead of raw. I find a lot of times that this room, this is a church for me. Do you know I have more meaningful educational, in-depth conversations about God standing behind this chair than I ever have.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have pastors that pastor at the church I went to, like they're clients of mine. I get to have so much more intimate one-on-one interactions standing behind this chair in reference to God than I do probably anywhere.
Well, we are the church, right? The body of Christ. It's not a building, it's the people. And
that is true.
You know, it also depends on what church you go to, because there's a lot of churches that are not doing things necessarily by scripture, and they've taken it upon their own hands and are doing things based on the opinions of people versus what God has to say about it. And that's how you lose people. That's how you form counterfeit relationships and things.
It's false teaching.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's false teaching, and discernment is the best gift you can have to find those things.
For sure. But if you can find a pure environment of believers that are on fire, that have a relationship, that believe in truth and are walking it out, not just talking the talk, but actually walking the walk, and you're able to do that together.
What a blessing.
That's been huge for me, just finding people that are pointed in the same direction and seeking the heart of the Lord and just trying to do His will for our lives. Because if we just do it His way, we save ourselves a lot of pain and hurt. That's for sure. I've learned that lesson. There's still times now that I go out on my own and make a mistake, and He humbles me and brings me back to the point where it's like, you might as well just do it my way, because it comes with peace.
Like a lot of times His way is your way, but you're so set on trying to do it your own way that you don't realize that that's not even your way.
Yeah.
Your way was the right way, the original way. And there's too many outside influences.
That's it. Everybody's got an opinion. Everybody wants to be a mentor and give you advice and make comments and suggestions about what you're going through, and you know, you should do this and you should do that, but it's who's worth listening to. And that's where discernment comes in, right?
That is it.
Yeah. Lord, is this really from you, or is it something trying to distract me and pull away from the path that you have for my life, right?
I feel like being able to decide between what is from Him and what is from the world is probably the biggest obstacle for every believer.
Agreed. 100%.
Like, you could go through all kinds of trials and tribulations, money, relationships, children, like all these things, and I still wouldn't rank it as hard as that task.
Yeah. No, that's on point. For sure. And not everything, like we said, makes sense when you're going through it, but after the fact, you can look back and say, well,
100%.
I gained this skill set, I got this perspective, He dealt with me on this, and now we can do what He's actually trying to do.
I think I've told you before that that's kind of where I felt like a long time I never understood in the moment when things were going bad that it was for a very specific reason. But after so many times of it always working out better, coming back bigger, or rebuilding in ways that I couldn't have even imagined were better, that I stopped, every time things like fall apart, I stopped like almost pitching a little temper tantrum about it.
That's it. Come on.
And I just kind of, at this point, when things fall apart, I'm like, okay, well,
see, sometimes
I know it's going to be better. Sometimes
with that, though, too, He's testing our hearts. Because if He wants to give us what He really wants to give us, He's going to say, hey, if a trial hits and it doesn't go the way you want it to, are you going to lean into me, or are you going to lean into how you feel about it and go down the other path? And that's a lesson that He's taught me over and over until I'm at the point now where no matter what happens, I'm going to look back at Him and say, you're doing something here for a reason. And I'm just going to trust that instead of going out on my own, because I've gotten hurt too many times doing that. You know what I mean?
I feel like that makes way more sense than I thought it would, the way you just said that, because I feel like for many, at least now, when I go through something, it's like a whole brand new problem.
Yeah.
But for a long, long, long time, I feel like I went through the same problems with different people, like over and over.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that it was a lesson thing. Like he's going to test you with the same thing until you learn how to pass the test.
That's it.
And then you get a different
That's
one.
it. That's exactly it.
Once you figure, like, are you going to respond in the same way that you've always responded?
That's it.
So that I have to do this again?
That's it. No, that's exactly it.
Or did you learn the lesson, respond the way I need you to respond so that we can get to the next level? That makes so much sense.
Just trust him. As easy as it sounds, it's not that easy, right? When things don't go the way you want it to, and you get away from what you feel like he initially told you was going to happen, or some dream that you had gets shifted in a different direction. It's so easy. Yeah.
That is so hard for me.
Yeah. But it's so easy to get discouraged by that and say, "Oh, it didn't work. I'm just not meant to do this, whatever else."
Oh no.
And go down the rabbit trail of negative thoughts. And that's what the enemy wants, whereas God wants us to lean into him and say, "Hey, you say in your scripture that all things are working together for my good because I love you and I'm called according to your purpose." And if I hold fast to that and believe that that's the truth, then I know we're all always moving towards something. We're moving towards the direction that he's called us to. And you got to go through some stuff to get there, right? You got to go through some stuff. Unfortunately, that's, maybe a way we learn more is by going through things. Because when it's always good sunshine and rainbows, we get caught up and we get complacent. But when he makes us uncomfortable, we can learn some deep lessons, that shake us at our core and add to the foundation.
I knew I was supposed to be behind the chair. There was a moment in my career after school. I had been working for a while. But I wasn't where I had imagined I would be in this industry. I still had a lot to learn, but I wasn't. It wasn't worth where I left.
Yeah.
At that moment.
Yeah.
And I faltered, and I went back to work corporate, and I left doing hair even though it's what I knew I wanted to do. And that lasted all of 2 months, and I could not get the chair out of my head. And then I was like, yep, nope, I want to be behind the chair. Like, it took leaving to learn that I still wanted it.
Yep.
And that's when I got in my first real barber shop. I was only in that office for 2 months. And then I got into a real barber shop. I did a whole chunk of learning. And then from that point when I realized that I could, it didn't matter. I knew where I was on the totem pole, but I knew that I could.
Yeah, come on.
And so that's just a matter of climbing. Like, how much do you want to learn? Ooh. Not can you, it's how much.
And this is one thing right here that Lord has been dealing with me on, and he keeps bringing it up. He's like, all you got to do, just do the work. That's all you got to do. Just do the work. The rest will take care of itself.
One haircut at a time.
That's it. Just do the work, and he rewards that. He's a rewarder of those who diligently seek. He rewards your effort. He'll match the effort you put in, and he's continuously proved that. Because if you're willing to do more than other people, he'll reward that for sure.
Well, it's how bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it?
How bad do you want it? Are you listening to the world, or are you listening to yourself? And by yourself, I mean him, because he speaks to you inside of you, right? Yep. And it's like, are you getting your self-image from everybody else or from you?
Come on.
I don't know. I was ready to walk away because I wasn't making what I needed to make to provide. And then I got in the barber shop, and I knew I was good. I just didn't know how to get to the level I wanted to be at. And then once I realized that I was capable of learning to get to where I wanted to be, then I got to use that discernment from shop to shop. Like, is this the type of teacher I want? It wasn't about what skills I could learn anymore, because I can learn them anywhere now.
Come on.
It was about what kind of business mentor do I want?
Yeah.
Skills come from any shop, right?
Yeah, they do.
And so I went to a few, and then I landed on the one right before here, the one you came to.
Yeah.
I was super blessed to have a barber shop family, but even so, the owner who invested knowledge into every barber because it was not a competition.
Yeah.
And it was about, I need y'all to be good so that my whole shop can be good, not just me. And I was able to take that and mold my own.
And now you're here.
Now I'm
your
here.
Own shop.
Hello.
Your own shop. Well, thanks for doing this. This was super last minute. I came in here. I had an idea maybe last night, I think, just record a little conversation.
I thought it was your guitar at first. Like, because you were carrying these big bags, and I'm like,
I'm going to play while you're cutting my hair.
I know he sings and he plays the guitar. So I thought, and then I realized that's not a guitar.
No, it's a camera setup. Yeah, we wanted to get a little testimony here about what you're doing, and I appreciate you doing it last minute. No preparation. We just shot from the hip, and here it is. But you got a powerful testimony for a reason, and the Lord's going to continue to use it and use you, and just keep showing up and doing everything for His glory.
I appreciate you listening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for coming on. Cut!
All right, feel your hair. Is it thin enough?
Oh, no, it looks great.
I just kind of dusted the ends everywhere and then thinned it out.
10 out of 10.
Do you need product?
I think I'm all good for today. Appreciate it, though.
Woohoo!
Looking good. Looking good.
Yeah.